Mm-mm. Hey you guys, hey, hoping everybody is having a blessed and wonderful day today as we get into the messages of what you need to know. So this video specifically will be about the January 6th full moon. Hey Michelle. So this will be about the full moon on January the 6th. It will be happening in the sign of Capricorn, and it's going to be in the 6th degree. So you guys can definitely look in your chart, in your birth charts, and see where the 6th degree placement is, where that shows up in your houses. And then you can know like in what area you'll see these changes actually happening in. So you guys, the moon is located on the opposite side of Earth from the sun. And that's the farthest point from the Earth. And that's called an apogee. And that is 252,600 miles from our moon. Okay? So then we have, so my bad, it says sign of Capricorn. This one is in the sign of Cancer. That's the sign of this moon. Okay, so not only are the Pisces, Cancers, and Scorpios really going to be affected by this moon cycle, but you know, when we look into Cancerian energy, we find the nurturing of ourselves, we find the more emotional, we find the more intuitive, we find the more you know, the parts of ourselves that are reserved for helping one another. So that's definitely something that we're going to see during this time. So some other names that you could know this moon by is the snow or ice moon. And that's because there are darker mornings and longer nights, which is why, you know, around this time most can hear like wolves howling and certain animals coming out and things of that nature. It's also where the nocturnal lives thrive. So you'll see more bats and not like owls, you know, nocturnal animals. There is also a harmonious sextile to Uranus. Okay. And if we look at Uranus, that's liberation and awakening. Okay. So it's going to bring a lot of rebellion and change. Okay. So mind you, each one of these is going to have a duality and a polarity. Okay. So when we say that it's going to bring the rebellion and the change, okay, that's literally, you know, looking at the systems that we've created and allowing ourselves to move forward with the best steps forward. Right. There's also a trine to Neptune. Now, a trine, you know, that's like the sun, the moon, you know, or like Pluto and, you know, just different planets that are coming together in a triad. Okay. And this one is with Neptune. And as you guys know, Neptune rules the sign of Pisces. So it's a very intuitive sign. It also has to deal with water. That's also dealing with Poseidon. Okay. So with that, it's going to bring a lot of dreams and inspiration. So definitely pay attention. Good morning, Heidi. So definitely pay attention to your dreams around this time. The things that, you know, like when it maybe keep a dream journal, or if you're having a very intense dream, you know, write that down and kind of like ponder on the significance of that dream. Or like what you felt whenever you had that dream. This is also a time to co-create, to manifest those dreams, those, you know, your other dreams, your heart's desires into reality. Okay. And it's definitely about creative forward thinking, you know, so what do you got to do in order to put these steps necessary to get the change that you want to see? So that's the main thing. So there's also an opposition from the sun and Mercury. Okay. So Mercury is our perception and our communication. So you might have some challenges with communication during this January 6th full moon. Being like maybe, being that there's a lot more emotions going on, you may have those communication issues. So knowing that ahead of time, taking the time to really think about what you say before you say, taking the time to think about what you're saying before you say it. And, also taking that time to really, understand that you can speak life or death from your tongue, so, choosing words wisely, to speak life into yourself and to others. This is also a great time. This is also a great time to work on boundaries, right? Setting those boundaries. What's the good things that, what type of things can, inspire and encourage those certain changes that you're looking for. Setting those boundaries like, okay, maybe I only drink on this day, or maybe I only eat 1 meal a day, or maybe I only walk 3 hours, or, whatever it is that your regiment calls for. Okay. Also, some organs that you can expect to take notice of. These are some organs that you might want to take extra sensitivity towards during this time, which will be your stomach, your mucosa, your breast, your womb, and your ovaries during this full moon. Those are some things that you can definitely see being more susceptible to certain changes. Okay, so like ovulation, fertility, okay, different things like that. But then mind you, the breast too, so you could be having some tenderness and things of that nature. So with the Capricorn and Cancer polarity, there's a lot of balancing, trying to figure out what's the balance between work and play. Excuse me, you guys. Yes, so finding the balance between work and play. So how much do you play? How much do you work? Taking the time to rest, to rejuvenate, to heal, to play, these things. So finding, what your schedule is and what schedule works best for you and those that you're collaborating with. Okay, so this is also a time to identify your wants versus your needs. Very, very important thing. So this could also be bringing back challenging connections, okay? And when I say that, I just want you to understand that, yes, that has to do with cycles, right? Because whenever you go through a cycle and you learned your lesson, 9 times out of 10, that cycle doesn't come back. But for those difficult connections or challenging connections that you may have had in the past that maybe ended a little saltily, or maybe had an abrupt pause, or something along those lines, those connections are going to come back. Because what we learn is, okay, connections are like energy portals. Okay, we have an energy portal. Each person that we come in contact with, we're supposed to balance. That's why we're coming into each person that we come into contact with. We have a mission or a goal with this individual, and it is up to us to figure out how to balance and move forward best with that individual, or at least balance with that individual. Okay, so let's say that there was a connection in the past, but maybe it didn't go the best way, or maybe, you wish it would have went differently, or maybe, you just didn't get that closure or that reassurance within that relationship, or maybe you just didn't figure out what your titles were or what your appreciation levels for one another was. Those connections will be kind of coming back around during this time. They will kind of be resurfacing in one way or another. And the reason why that is yes, karmic cycles. Okay, hello Marie. So yeah, it's going to be the time for you to figure out how to rebalance with these people. Now, does that mean that you and this person's got to be like this? No. Does that mean that you and that person have to be joined at the hip? No. What that means is you need to find a peaceful medium, something that you mutually can agree on, even if it's to agree to disagree, okay? As long as you know that you wish well for them, hopefully they know that, and vice versa, then you salvage that connection, okay? And you have that energy channel and that energy portal to kind of push you forward, karmically as well, and energetically, okay? It's like a credit, okay? These connections, they're like a credit, okay? If you can imagine like God or universe being like the banker, right? And you're like, okay, well, I want a mansion. And God's like, okay, well, what's your, what's your credit? And you're like, oh, I've worked, I've done this. And like, okay, what's the connections in your life like? And you're like, okay. And they're like, well, how many bad connections do you have? Well, how many good connections? You're like, oh, I have so many good connections. Well, how many bad connections did you have and how bad were they? That's like on your resume, right? That's on your like report. That's like your credit report. So you want to make sure that at least you do your part to make those connections thrive. Pray for those people, wishing well for those people, ending on a peaceable term, right? Not getting to, not allowing yourself to get to a point where the connection is like unsalvageable. You want to actually, if you're going to conclude a connection, you want to make sure that it stays on a neutral level. Okay. Yeah. So another thing about these full moons that I find, positively profound is that not only do the moons affect, certain organs and, certain in the water within our bodies and our nature and chemical balances, but it also affects the earth in the same way. Okay, that's why usually on a full moon or a new moon, people are more emotional and the waves are a little bit higher around that time, right? Because it's all interconnected, right? And I think we're going to take this time to figure out what's the difference between connected, interconnected, right? So if something is connected, there's like a breach like this. If it's interconnected, that means like it's like a continuous thing, okay? And that's very important to have that, and the best way to explain it would be independence, codependence, and interdependence, okay? Codependence is whenever you need another thing or that thing needs you or that person needs you, okay? Now, that's a codependence. Now, independence is when you can stand alone, when you need no one or no thing, and no thing or no one needs you. That's independence, okay? Interdependence is whenever you both either need each other or you both lean on each other to make things work, okay? And that credit system is kind of like a interdependent situation, okay? So yeah, you guys, that's what you guys can look forward to going through this full wolf moon or snow or ice moon, whichever one you prefer to call it, you guys. And it will be peaking at 6:09 p.m. Eastern time. And our phrase for this new moon is going to be, just be cool, right? So if like you you're feeling emotional or you're wondering what to do with the connection, be cool. Figure out how to be calm, right? And address the situation after you take a pause and reassess. So you guys, I hope that this has helped. Thank you so much for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Stay blessed, never stressed, with much peace, much power, much love, much light, and of course, much joy. I'll see you guys next time.